The right to privacy is tough in this age of ubiquitous, almost required social media access. The fact that you require it and that Facebook and Twitter have so much influence on our democracy and on our livelihoods and on our reality at large, given that it's a very large media source where a lot of information is disseminated, and that's why they shouldn't be censoring. They shouldn't be limiting the Overton window for conversation. They shouldn't be the arbiters of it. We need to have an internet bill of rights to figure out, they can't have their liability-free platform and their publisher curation at the same time, and all this power, and all these benefits, the subsidies and the corporate write-offs and the protections of being in the state of California. They shouldn't have all this stuff and be able to tyrannically just censor anybody they want, TOS be damned, from their platform. Okay? If you can either believe in free speech or you can believe in the modern religion known as censorship. But you can't have both. If you believe in free speech and you're arguing for censorship, I am sorry, but you might need to reassess how you frame your opinion. Okay? There's only two opinions you can have. Just like Noam Chomsky says about free speech, you can only have two positions. Either you want free speech, choice, two, or you don't want free speech. Okay? Only one person can speak, and that is the authority. Okay? The authority. Only one person has the authority to speak in a discussion. That closes down discourse. That closes down debate. That closes down civilization at large, and it reverts us back to before the 19th century Enlightenment era. Okay, when the philosophers said, we must allow ourselves to talk about uncomfortable things and to have freedom to disagree and dissent without being thrown out of the world or killed in that case. Okay, these were controversial things, and in some countries that have authoritarian speech laws, the EU, it's not a country, it's kind of a mega country at this point with all of its members. They're becoming a bit more authoritarian. Russia is putting in some censorship laws that are very authoritarian. We have our First Amendment, but it's going to be enforced. Okay? And people say, oh, you're being authoritarian because you want to enforce laws. And I say, well, here's a law that tells you that you have the right to speak, no matter how factual what you're saying is. Now, of course, there are limitations to free speech that we all agree upon: credible threats, doxing, illegal pornography, defamation, libel, slander, and others. There's other cases, but hate speech, if it's a thing at all and not just a form of sophistry to control people, it's subjective. Okay? Because we do have two movies on one screen. What you call hate speech, I might not. And what I call hate speech, you might not. So it's a little difficult for us to make a rule set that holds both of those opinions or positions at the same time. And so I err on the side of pro-information, and I say that everybody should have the right to speak as long as they're not inciting violence, making credible threats, doxing, harassing in a way that is outside of social acceptance. Okay, we have to all agree on these things. It can't be behind a veil. It has to be transparent. So Facebook, you need to tell us exactly why you're banning people. Now, they say it's dangerous and extreme. How is Paul Joseph Watson or Lauren Southern dangerous or extreme? That's an arbitrary distinction. And people will say, well, a private company should be able to. Yes, but they have so much influence over, they are so large, the corporations, left to their own devices, including the banks and the credit cards, places like Patreon, and then you have MasterCard and Chase. They are, and then you have websites like GoDaddy, website providers and servers like GoDaddy. saying you can't even get on the internet anymore. You can't have a website, you can't have a platform. They're being completely turned into absolute martyrs of this modern religion of censorship. They're being turned into pariahs. And I say, even if you're a Holocaust denier, as the great Christopher Hitchens once said, even if you are a Holocaust denier, and Noam Chomsky did this exact same argument, I support your right to speak. Okay? I may not agree with your views, even at all, perhaps. Maybe a little, maybe not at all, whatever you're discussing. But I support your right to speak. And I think that is the more, no pun intended, enlightened way to go.